What is going on? This is Tyler Smith back with Intrinsecus. Glad to be back for another episode after a month-long hiatus. Again, guys, I apologize. Oh, guys and girls, I apologize for the inconsistency. I don't want to be a grifter. At the same time, I don't want to force myself to read a lot of history, read a lot of parables and novels and stories from years of old. To force myself to come talk about something. I know successful podcasters who podcast once a week or 2 times a week, 3, 4, 5 times a week, or even 7 times a week. They are true masters of their craft, and they don't have other day jobs. Some people do, or their day job is surrounded around their company that their podcast tends to talk about. Right, so you have people like Nick Bayer. Who's a former Army officer who has his own supplement company, and he does podcasts talking about his life. It's easy for him because that is his life. When I started this series, it was me looking at history, looking at parables, and saying, how do we take stories of old, things from the years of old, and bring them into today and change how we talk about them and how we interpret them to get the intrinsic motivation out of it. I did switch over to politics for a few episodes because I saw a lot of people being extrinsically pulled by politics, and they weren't looking inward. They weren't looking within themselves to say, how can I change my environment? How can I make a better tomorrow? How can I take the stories of old? How can I take the politics in the headlines of yesterday and yestermonth and yesteryear and make a better tomorrow, a better next month, a better next year? But for this episode, I'm kind of taking it back to the roots. And I apologize for the sniffling. I got this weird sinus pressure out of nowhere. But again, kind of going back to the roots of how this podcast started, as I'm going to take something of old, read it to you guys, and try to flip it in a way that you guys can understand. So today I'm going to be reading Kahil Gibran, who is a Lebanese, I believe. Yes, Kahil Gibran he was a Lebanese-American writer, poet, and visual artist, also considered a philosopher, although he himself rejected this title. He was born in 1883, died in 1931 in New York. His full name is Kahil Gibran. He wrote a lot of things. He changed a lot of minds, and he brought a new style of thinking to America. Right, very, 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 very prophetic. I would say a philosopher, even though he did reject it. And as I read to you this passage of it's called "On Pain." I want you guys to kind of sit in silence and really listen to it and understand it. And then I'm going to break it down line by line and then upload this video and hopefully get some likes and shares. And then we'll kind of talk about some other things that I saw back in the real world, what's going on today. So here we go. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields. And you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is a bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. And the cup he brings, though it burns your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. All right, that's very deep. Again, this guy was born in the late 1800s, died in the early 1900s. So the English was a little bit different. It isn't as flowing as it is today. So bear with me as, again, a lot of this English is older, and we don't speak like this anymore. But it's kind of go through this. First line goes, "Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding." A lot of people have told me that, hey Tyler, you have a strong disdain for college kids. Why? Like, these are our future leaders. And I go, exactly, these are our future leaders. And in America, we have fastened a culture of super parenting, of not letting people feel pain, not letting people feel failure, and then they go out in the real world, and the real world smacks them around. I think that the what we call the real world, as late people in their late 20s, 30s, and especially people in their 40s and 50s and older, that real world really ended maybe 10 years ago. Because in the last 10 years, these people who have been coddled and haven't been shown failure, if they get a bad grade in school, the parents go and cuss out the teachers, or you have professors who don't care, or whatever the situation is. We have the situation where these future leaders are now, I don't want to say, they're causing a wave into the Fortune 500, into corporate America, into the industries of America. And now, you may have a CEO or board of directors who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s who have this old school mind of thought. But majority of their labor force are these young 20-year-olds who never felt pain, who never felt failure, don't have that understanding. And when they don't have their way, they cry. They'll go to Twitter. They'll slander you. They'll take your company name and just wring it through the mud and say, "I'll stop once I get what I want," because their parents never let them feel that pain. So the reason why I think this is important for intrinsically minded people is you need to understand that pain, or in other words, experience, is life's best teacher. Going through pain, you can switch that word out for experience. Through failure, through experience, through the pain of not succeeding, of not reaching your goals, of the pain of looking yourself in the mirror and saying you're a failure, you're not where you want to be because of you. It's no one else's fault but your own fault. You are the reason why you are not a millionaire. You're the reason why you are not worth $100,000. You are the reason why your marriage or your relationships aren't working. You're the reason why you have no friends. Once that pain is there, it will break whatever facade that is over your eyes, and now you can see the world for what it is. I grew up with a very thick facade. I had an understanding of the world, and through very painful events for about 3 years of my life, I had an epiphany on what life really is, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning to understand different people, understand different cultures, understand different mindsets. But through those 3 years of pain and hardship, I realized that this world is not what it was taught to me to be. So in these next couple lines, they go, "Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so much do no pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy." Again, bear with me, very older English, very hard to understand. So I'll sum it up in this way for these two lines. Pretty much what's going on is saying is just, as in nature, things go through ups and downs, right? There's a cycle of life. There's, fruit will populate on a tree, and then it'll rot, it will die, it falls to the ground. The seeds, will be, let's say you have a fruit, it's eaten by deer or whatever, and the fruit is quote unquote killed, but through the process, the seed will be pooped out of an animal, and then that seed can then plant, populate a new plant that will then start the process all over again. So pretty much this is saying, understanding that your pain is a natural part of life. The stone of the fruit must break. Pretty much saying that these things are going to happen no matter what. No matter how much you're coddled, no matter how much your parents or your legal guardians or whoever protected you, eventually life is going to smack you in the face. If you take right now, we have high inflation, we have all these things. We had 14 years of a strong economy, and the crow has come home to roost, or the chicken has come home to roost, or whatever the phrase is. We're now in a painful part of American politics where we got political divide going on, and then we have economics and a couple other things going on. Like, we are now starting to feel this. The government and people try to protect us for as long as possible, but these cycles must happen. And through these things, you will know pain, or as Lion says, so much do no pain. Because of the cycle, because no matter what happens, life happens. Constant is the only constant in life is change, and change is the only constant. It's going to keep happening, right? You will know pain at some point. And can you then? And then it continues to go on saying, and could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life? Can you keep a strong head on your shoulders? Can you stay resilient? Are you mentally sound? Are you strong-minded? Are you strong-willed? Are you strong heart to understand, hey, these things happen. I got cancer. My family got cancer. I'm sick. This happened. The economy crashed. I'm upside down on my mortgage. I'm upside down on my car. Blah, blah, blah. I lost, I think 80% of my investment into Bitcoin, whatever. As all that is happening, can you stay strong and still be in wonder or in awe or and not acceptance, an admiration for what you do have in life. And then we go, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. Now, this is a little bit tricky, right? So I'm going to say it again. Your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. Your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. So let's kind of break this down in a different way. If we were to take out the not, your pain would seem less wondrous than your joy. Okay, well, that makes sense, right? Because you're saying your pain, like, do all these things, your pain would seem less wondrous than your joy. Like, of course, your joy would be more wondrous, but that's not what Kjell is saying. He's saying your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. There's a certain thing about pain. There's a certain thing about feeling alive that is better than joy, because when you're happy, you become complacent. In the military, they have a thing, or military, SWAT, police, FBI, whoever, they have a thing that says complacency kills. When you're happy and you think everything's hunky-dory and you let down your guard, that is when you are the most likely to die. That is when you're most likely to get your friends killed. Complacency kills, right? Because there's a certain thing about pain and the bleeding, the figurative bleeding that lets you know that you are alive, and through that is where you truly learn. You don't learn through happiness. Some people do, but most people are going to learn by that hard teacher, which we call experience. So again, could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life? Your pain will not seem less wondrous than your joy. Again, Old English, bear with me, guys. So next line we have, and you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields. Now, this is something else where you got to look intrinsically. You have to look inside who you are. And you would accept the seasons of your heart. Again, we don't always wake up happy. We always don't wake up sad. But hey, life happens. We have breakups. We have divorces. I wish we didn't, but that's a wholly different episode. That's a totally different episode. We have all these bad things that happen, and you have to accept it. You have to, what's the old saying? You have to roll with the punches. You have to let it roll off your back, let it roll off your shoulders. You need to accept this, because when you get too bogged down in the winters of your heart, sometimes you feel like you can never get out of the winter, or you may die in the cold. And that's the last thing we need is if you die. We need less people committing suicide, right? Now, again, there's the clinical side of this where I don't want to get into, but a lot of people, when they get into these ruts, they stay in these ruts and they can't find their way out. A part of being a human, a part of dealing with this world that has been given to us by our forefathers or foremothers, You need to accept the good and the bad that comes with it. Even as you accepted the spring, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter that happens, on this earth. And then the next line goes, and you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. So serenity, let's exchange that word for happiness or just contempt, not contempt, but neutral. And more so in today's words, even though serenity has its own definition, especially during this time when this was written. But for our generation, I'm just going to say you would watch with neutrality through the winters of your grief. That's something that people need to learn with being mentally resilient and being intrinsically motivated, is how to, when things are bad, how to be strong-willed, strong-minded, and say, hey, this too shall pass. Again, this too shall pass for everything happy, and this too shall pass for everything that's sad. All right, we're going to go into the next line. Much of your pain is self-chosen. Now, this line, we actually see this type of thinking and methodology of philosophy in a lot of Eastern philosophies, right? We see this in a lot of Taoism, Buddhism, Confucius, people who follow Confucius, is that a lot of your pain is self-chosen. What that means is that you allow things to bother you. Right now, of course, if you get cancer, if you get cancer from smoking cigarettes for 40 years, okay. But if you get cancer, that's a genetic thing. That hey, or you're a woman who has polycystic ovaries, like okay, you can't do a lot of things for that. Outside, the medical happenings where you can't control the environment, outside the raging alcoholics and the people who smoke and do drugs, outside those people, you can't really control that. But a lot of this mental anguish that we feel when we have the grief of the heart and the grief of the mind and the grief of the soul, we accept that. We hold on to this pain. And that is something that we really need to learn how to let go. We really need to learn how to say, do I really need to hold on to this? Again, much of your pain is self-chosen. You agree to this. What I've seen in kind of modern cultures, we see these arguments from these super, I don't want to say red-pilled people, maybe black-pilled or white-pilled, whatever those words mean nowadays. We see this thing where people say, oh, you're really pissing me off. And someone will go, the smart ass goes, I have no control over your emotions. So again, in Eastern philosophy, we see hey, you must accept life as it is. You must accept the sun when it comes up. You must accept the sun when it comes up. You must accept the moon when it comes up. You have yin yang, which is like, hey, in every good there's bad. Essentially, in everything that's good there's bad, and everything that's bad there's good. That's more of an American way to look at yin yang, even though that's not the true doctrinal way what yin yang means. But for Americans, that's kind of how they take it. And then you go to the West, you have these smart Alex who go, I'm not pissing you off. I'm not in control of your emotions. You are allowing me to piss you off, right? You see kind of like old school parenting where a kid comes home crying and he goes, so-and-so's making fun of me. And you may have a more strong-willed or iron-fisted parent who says, you are allowing this person to get to you. Don't allow them to hurt your feelings. Don't allow them to get into you. Or you have the saying in America and Canada and just the West period where it goes, damn, that person's living inside your head rent free, right? So you have someone who's upset and they're talking ill of someone, like, oh, I can't stand Sally at work, blah blah blah, Sally this, Sally that, Sally this. Then you have some smart aleck, 5 feet away who goes, damn, you gonna let Sally live in your head rent free, right? All that I'm trying to say is like that pain is self-chosen when it's mental anguish, right? When you are allowing someone's actions to affect you. Now, of course, sometimes we feel slighted, we feel betrayed, we feel whatever, and we feel disrespect towards us. And I'm not perfect at this. There have been multiple situations in the last couple of weeks where I got physically mad at someone. Physically in the sense of outwardly expression. My eyebrows are frowned, my mouth is turned upside down. I'm like, I'm just like, F you and you making me mad, right? I'm even at fault for this. I have let someone else's actions dictate my emotions. And I need to work on that. But again, much of this pain of grief that we accept is self-chosen. I have come to grips with death. So when people die, I go, okay, they're dead, right? And that's me not allowing their death to affect my emotions. Of course, we're human. We're going to be upset. We're going to miss people. But understanding that, like, I was born through a canal between a woman's orifice, and I'm going to die sick, and I'm going to die at one point. I'm going to take my last breath. Everyone takes their last breath. Now, that is also scary, knowing that I'm older, and every day I get older, it seems like time goes by faster, and that last breath is coming sooner and sooner. I'm like, oh no, I want to accomplish more. But again, even that fear I have is self-chosen. That fear of saying, like, I haven't accomplished enough in life, causes me turmoil. So, kind of went super long in that line. We'll go to the next one. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Now, this line is possibly my dang favorite one. I'm going to say it again. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Heals your sick self. When you allow your emotions, like when I allow these people to affect me based on their emotions, I'm now sickened. I'm not happy. I'm not operating at my top level because my emotions are stricken because of someone else's actions, right? Now, that bitter potion that the physician within me is my gut, my soul, my heart, my mind that says, you can do better, Tyler. And it's the one that says, don't you ever like feel stupid after you get mad at someone and you're like, damn, I was mad for 6 hours and I could have done so much, right? We all have that voice in the back of our head and that says, either when, and I'm at fault for this, right? YouTube has YouTube Shorts now, and it's kind of like TikTok, and I'm getting addicted to it because I'm just scrolling through it and I'm like, oh, goo goo gaga, and I turn to a little kid because like all the dances and the music and people cooking up things. I'm like, ooh, I can cook that. And someone does a backflip. I'm like, oh, I remember when I used to do backflips, right? And TikTok is very addicting. It's social engineering at its finest. And now YouTube Shorts is doing TikTok, or they allow you to import TikToks over because so many people are leaving the platform. And now I'm getting addicted to YouTube, and I'm like, oh my gosh, right? And then at the end of the day, I'm just like, I wasted 6 hours of my time on YouTube. And that voice in the back of my head saying, what are you doing with your life? Right? It's those things, right? That's the physician within you. That voice in the back of your head who says, you could be doing more. You're sitting here on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts. You're sitting here binge watching Outlander on Amazon Prime or Netflix. You're over here binge watching The Terminal List, which, by the way, The Terminal List on, Amazon Prime, freaking fantastic. Just saying, right? When you wake up late, or when you get drunk and you wake up hungover and you're like, damn, man, what am I doing with my life? That's the physician. And that bitter potion is that acceptance of you ain't doing what you need to do. Sorry, that's bad language. You are not doing what you need to be doing. That bitter potion is you accepting the fact that you aren't where you want to be at. You are not a millionaire. You don't have your own business. You don't have the money. You don't have the house. You don't have what you have because you are not working. Again, probably my favorite line of this whole, I don't want to say poem, but short, not even a short essay, these short writing. So next line goes, therefore trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. Second favorite line, you need to trust your gut, right? Now, sometimes when you're young and you're 8 and you trust your gut, you may touch the hot stove, and you get burned, right? So as you get older and you're in your late 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, that experience has taught that physician, and you may want to trust your gut. And when your gut tells you don't do something, you may want to trust it, right? Another way to look at this physician is also self-preservation. Now, again, to be successful in life, to be a champion skydiver, you kind of have to skip self-preservation because, you're skydiving, right? But outside extreme sports and outside extreme things where you mentally have to set aside self-preservation, For everyone else who's normal, not the insane scuba divers and skydivers and Navy SEALs and everyone else, right? That self-preservation tends to be that physician, right? When he says, "Hey, stop drinking so much, stop smoking so much, stop doing all these drugs, stop doing what's bad for you. You need to take care of your body." Trust that gut, right? Trust the gut, or the gut that says, "Hey, this is a toxic relationship with this boyfriend, with this girlfriend, whatever." This whatever situation I am in is toxic. Or, hey, I deserve a better job. I deserve a raise. I'm over here working extra hours. I'm doing this. I'm doing overtime. I got all these certifications. I'm constantly bettering myself, and I'm not appreciated here. I need to do better. Or, hey, I have a kid, or I'm bringing a second kid into this world, and I need to be able to take care of them. I need to have a better paying job, right? Whatever that self-preservation or parenting factor that's inside of you, trust it. And then that remedy, which is the you ain't doing what you need to be doing, the you ain't shit factor, drink that in silence and tranquility and accept it and move on and become better. And again, I got to get better. These past couple of weeks, I've let other people's actions affect me. I've been getting addicted to YouTube shorts, and especially all of like the short cooking things. I love cooking. I'm like, oh, I can do this. And again, I'm turning like all those memes of like people being stuck to their phone. I'm slowly turning into that, and I'm like, and I gotta pull back. I gotta do better. And then it doesn't help that Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu is coming out with all these cool like CIA and Army and Spec Ops like TV shows and movies. I'm like, oh no, oh man, this is getting good. Like I just finished watching Reacher. Reacher's a little bit older, but I just finished watching Reacher a couple days ago, and I was like, damn. That was a good series. And the thing I just got done watching Snake Eye, The Origin of Snake Eyes, and I was like, damn, that was good. But now just like look how much time I wasted. So next line, it goes, for his hand. So I'm going to back up, read the last line and go into the next one. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. So now, if you're religious, if you believe in God, if you believe in Allah, if you believe in Yahshua, if you believe in whatever deity or deities that you believe in, and you believe that the unseen can move throughout your life, your spirit, and the spirits of people around you, that's the tender hand of the unseen. If you don't believe that and you're atheist, take it as cosmic radiation. I don't know, whatever you believe in. But for his hand, though heavy and hard, right? And that the heavy and hard is that, again, that inner, that either self-preservation, parenting, or just the you ain't shit factor, that you ain't shit voice you hear in the back of your brain that goes, you can be doing better, right? Like when you look in the mirror and you want to cry, or when you are depressed because you aren't doing what you need to do, and you have that self-realization that everything in life, all your failures is just because of you and it's no one else, that hurts. It sucks, right? But no, it's guided by the tender hand of the unseen, right? If you look at it in a different way, we have parents who might spank us, they might ground us, might do whatever. But the heart is tender because they want to see their child grow up and be pure and be good-hearted and have good, strong morals and foundations. But their punishments may be heavy and hard. So, look at it that way. Going on, and the cup he brings, though it burns your lips, has been fashioned of the clay, which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. Again, a little bit more of a religious point of view on this one. Again, if you're an atheist, I don't know what to tell you. Again, sorry for all the breaks in my voice. I'm always sniffling my nose right now. And so I'm going to say this again. So in the cup he brings, I'm saying it again because I keep stopping to sniffle. But in the cup he brings, though it burns your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. Okay, you can take this a lot of different ways. This is how I take it. The cup so obviously you're going to, for his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen, and you're going to trust the physician, and you're going to drink his remedy in silence and tranquility, and it is that bitter potion by which the physician within you that heals your sick self. Okay, so that cup that you're figuratively drinking from the physician, it burns your lips, right? It is that realization. There's a constant theme throughout this whole short 2-paragraph thing from Kjell. of pain, of realization of what you're going through. And it is really captured in this last line. And the cup he brings, though, it burns your lips. Again, everything else, right? It burns your lips. The pain you have is self-chosen. The pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Like, again, there's a constant theme throughout all of this. And this is summed up in this last line by saying that realization that you are the reason for a lot of your pain. Again, there's always other circumstances, like if AQ starts running into America because we killed Zarahari, and starts killing people, then I'm sorry, that's not really self-chosen. But that internal self-realization that you ain't shit because of you, that sucks, and it burns your lips. It's hard to drink. You don't want to drink it, but you have to. But that cup you're holding has been fashioned by the clay, which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. So again, if anyone knows pottery, how you have to moisten and like wet your hands to, when you're having the clay being spun on the platter and you're molding it. If we look at it in the religious sense, Jesus died on the cross for us, right? If you're Christian, right? If you're Christian, Jesus died on the cross for us, and now he was crying. If I'm not going to comment on Judaism or Islam. I'm not strong there, and I don't want to offend anyone. But if you're Christian, Jesus died on the cross, right? For our sins, and obviously he cried, right? So this potter the P is capitalized, right? So if you know anything about like the New Testament, when it says he or different pronouns and the pronouns are capitalized, it means Jesus, right? So if anyone who knows about the New Testament, so I take from this, because Kjell was religious, the P is capitalized, and everything else, like the physician and everything else that talks about like other people in this monologue, whatever, is lowercase, and the only pronoun that we have, or noun, that's capitalized, is potter. So I take this as him talking about Jesus, and has been moistened with his own sacred tears. Again, sacred, we all know what sacred means. So it is those realizations, and if you take this to a religious sense, that we're all sinners, we all fall short of the glory of God, but through Jesus' actions that has saved us, that is what moistens this cup. And that cup that is given to you by the physician within you. If you want to take it a totally different way, you can talk about the Holy Spirit that can move through you. All these things, right? I'll let you take it along your own religious path, because everyone understands Jesus and God in a different way. Again, for anyone who's Islamic or Jewish who's listening, I apologize. I can't really comment on your religion. I'm not super smart in yours. Or same thing for any Buddhists out there, Taoists, Hindus, or anything. I'm sorry, I can't comment on yours. I'm not that smart. But how I take this is, again, more on the Christian sense. Sorry. Again, then just for reference, Kahil Gibran was a Maronite Christian. Even though as an Arab, he was influenced not only by his religion, but also by Islam, especially the mysticism of the Sufis. So also take that. So he was a Christian, but he did have Arabic influence, in some of his writings, which I will go over more of his writings in later episodes. But I just want to ponder on this last one, because it is that pain of what you have to go through when you realize that you are the problem, that you are the one that can fix these things. But just know that the ability for you as a human to have that inner dialogue with yourself, that inner voice that says, hey, you're doing wrong and you need to do better, just know that we are gifted of that inner dialogue by something that's greater than us. And I personally believe that's Jesus. Even though I fall extremely short of the glory of God, fall extremely short of the glory of the cross, I fall extremely short to Jesus, and I got a lot of work to do. That inner dialogue that we have, some give it to the Holy Spirit. Some it's maybe just a gift that we have from God and Jesus. Jesus as being the Son of God. It is a gift to us that says, "Hey, you need to do better." Right now, I kind of rambled along in this one. I'm gonna bring it back to reality and why this actually matters. So, I was listening to Timcast. I like to listen to Timcast. He I don't agree with everything he says, but he says a lot of things that are interesting. And tonight he had a guest on being Larry Elder. If you don't know who Larry Elder is, go YouTube him, go Google him. I'm not going to waste time already for this long enough podcast episode to go into that. But Larry Elder was kind of going to what's wrong with the black community, and he says, "Hey, just don't do crime." He's like, we need to address fatherlessness in the households. There's a lot of things in the black culture, so that needs to be fixed. At no point did he disregard racism in America. He just said, "Hey, it's not as big of a problem, and a lot of these things we can fix within our own communities, within our own selves." He talked about how him and his father didn't get along, and then he finally was able to get right with his father, and now they have a stronger relationship. And when I'm listening to this episode, I'm listening to Tim, I'm listening to Ian Crossland, who I swear is always on shrooms, and I'm listening to everyone else. And I also listen to episodes from the Quartering, from Brett Cooper, Lauren Chen, people over the Daily Wire, and different more moderate center right wing people. They tend to have an understanding of what can I do. But they still tend to point the finger at the left and saying like, "Oh, you're destroying America." And then when I listen to the opposite side of the coin, the people on the left, the Voshes, the Son Pikers, all those people over there, there's no absolutely they more have like a self-flogging attitude, like, "Oh, I'm such an evil person, but because I do these things, I'm justified in being evil." It's really weird. Like they will flog themselves, but then say, "Because I do these things and because I flog myself, then I'm fine." It's like the self-flogging is their atonement for the sins that they didn't even commit. So like they flog themselves for sins they didn't even commit, but then because they do certain things, they atone again, and then they're fine. It's this weird double-edged bipolar sword thing that goes on. But when I listen to everyone, there's very few actors on both sides who say, "Hey, before I point the finger to the other side, let's put the mirror in front of me first. What am I doing? And what can I do better? What am I doing? And what can I do better? And what am I actually contributing to this?" Because a lot of people on the right, what they don't realize is they do contribute to these things, right? So like on the right, you'll have people who have Apple products, which is made in like Foxconn, and you got terrible slave labor, and they buy Nikes and they do all these things. So they preach for freedom, they preach for like American nationalism and American this, American first, blah blah blah. But they still wear Nikes and they have Apple's devices, and they're not even looking at the slave labor it's coming from. Like, so for me, I refuse to have any Apple products, and I refuse to wear any Nikes. And like every time I learn of another company that's using Chinese slave labor, I just move away from it. Again, there's a lot of stuff made in China, but like Foxconn Valley is a different beast. Not every single factory in China is slave labor, but some are more than others. And again, I look on the left, and it's a hodgepodge of I don't know what, and it's interesting. But again, they just point the fingers. But in tonight's episode with like Larry Elder, he was able, so much of what he said was, "Let me look in the mirror, and everyone else needs to look themselves in the mirror. And then after you do that, now let's come together. After you handle yourself, then we can come together and help the community. Jordan Peterson's another one, right? His famous saying is clean your room, bucko, or carry the heaviest thing. I can't do his accent. I'm gonna try. Carry the heaviest thing you can carry, bucko. Right. So that is another thing that he says. And again, in my words, my translation is turn the mirror onto yourself. Before you can go out and change others, you need to fix yourself. And I think that is the most important thing that people need to discuss and talk about before we say Trump's bad, Biden's bad, DeSantis bad, Kamala Harris bad, you bad, you're bad, Democrat bad, Republican bad. Okay, well, Republicans got a whole lot of crap they need to fix, and Democrats got a whole lot of crap they can fix, and individual voters got a whole lot of crap to fix. I think the biggest thing when it comes to politics, kind of going back to the politics swing now, is so many American voters just are one-issue voters, which is the wrong answer. Two, they don't look up their congressional representatives and their senators, what they vote on. So these people come out, they hit the campaign trail, they do all these lies and blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to do all these things. And I don't call them lies. Unfulfilled promises. We're going to do all these things and look at their voting record. I think one of the things is, a lot of people talk about how America's divided. And people keep throwing the Civil War phrase around. I'm like, yo, guys, let's chill out. But before anyone can chill out, everyone needs to look at themselves and be like, how am I the problem? They need to listen to their gut. They need to be like, maybe they need that self-realization that I'm actually the problem. Like, I need to vote better. I need to know who I'm voting for. And then once you get that, then you can go to your neighbor and be like, hey, I had this self-realization. We need to vote better. And then go, okay. And then I got two people who go, hey, let's look at their voting record. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And then they go to a third neighbor and go, hey, before you know it, you have a more informed population. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be doing more of these episodes. I think I'm going to do like a rapid fire episode every night. So some of the other things that Kahil Gibran wrote about was love, marriage, children, eating and drinking, work, joy and sorrow, clothes, buying, selling, crime and punishment, which is, I'm really looking forward to speaking about that one. Reason and passion, good and evil, prayer, pleasure, death, religion, right? He talks about all these things, and I'm going to go through all these different writings that he had and break them down and then pontificate my opinions on them. But other than that, I appreciate the 5 people who listen. Until tomorrow or until whatever I upload, I appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. This is Tyler Smith with Intrinsecus signing off.